to Tuesday Community Connections. I have Jeff Larson, our Executive Director, with me here today. And thank you, Jeff, for agreeing to come in and have a conversation.
My pleasure.
Well, it's always good to see you, and I'm sure the congregation probably hasn't seen you either for a while. So always good to be together. This mask gives me some trouble, but we'll see what I can do. I invited Jeff in just to talk about in-person worship. I think that that's a question that everybody has, is when can we come back together again? And you need to know that I don't know of anybody who doesn't want to have in-person worship. I think that's what we all long for.
Yeah.
You probably had people ask you as well.
Yes. I think, the first thing that we really have to be aware of is we want to make sure all of our congregants are safe.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing is we want to make sure that everybody who comes in this building feels safe. They feel like, we've taken all the precautions that we can, and when they leave, they know that, that was really good, that we took care of all the safety measures and everything that we really need to do before we can have in person. So that's the number one priority of parish planning, the staff, myself, is to make sure that everybody is safe once they're in the building here.
And, PPC, our council, has talked about this at least at a couple meetings. And at both meetings, it was like, we want to have in-person worship, but we want to make sure that we are ready.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I know Lynn has put together a group of people that have been studying this for
couple months, I think. I call them the reopen group. Yeah, all with some medical connections, so can kind of look at things in a different way. And
so it's not like we've ignored what's going on, but we really want to make sure that this group gets together. They have an idea of what should be done, what needs to be done, brings it before parish planning and the staff, and then we come up with that plan to make sure that that is in place before we can have the in-person worship.
And I mean, the other thing for you to know is that parish planning will be the ones that decide, okay, now it's ready, we're ready to open the doors.
Right.
And they're going to depend a bit on what this reopen group comes up with. The other thing, though, that I have, and Jeff, I think you have, maybe everybody has, been paying attention to, are the numbers.
Right.
Early on, when this thing first started back in March, our synod, along with the Western North Dakota Synod, sent out some guidelines. And, obviously at that point, nobody really knew how long is this going to last and what is going on. But one of the top thing that they were saying was that numbers need to be going down in your area for 2 weeks. We've not really had that.
Yeah, I would say, like everybody else, I look at the numbers daily, and from the state it kind of looks like the whole state, and in Grand Forks County we have been trending up, and that's not where we want to be. So I think we want to be cautious, and right now we do not have an exact date. We want to make sure that numbers are trending down, and we have policies and things in place that everything is going to be as safe as we possibly can.
Yeah, and I mean, the numbers probably for a long time are not going to be at 0. We're not looking at that. I think the recommendation was under 5. We're over that. We wanted to wait until school started to see what's going to happen then, because I think everybody assumed that that's going to make the numbers go up a little bit. So the numbers have made us cautious as well. The other thing, Jeff, let's talk about, this reopen group. What the reopen group is looking at is, in order for us to open up again, what do we need? And so, some of the things that they've come up with are masks.
Right. Everyone would be required to wear a mask. I mean, that would not be yes or no. That's a yes. Everybody will have to have a mask.
We also have looked at numbers, and they've come up with a number, and I almost hesitate to give it out because it might vary a little bit, but they're thinking maybe about 120 people to keep it safe. And what they came up with was, just because of safety,
right,
that when we start, we will just start in one space. And the space that they chose was Celebration Hall because we can move the chairs around very easily. It's a bigger room. And so when we start worshiping again, it will be in Celebration Hall. However, what will happen is 1 week will be in Celebration Hall with the Celebration Hall worship service. The next week will be in Celebration Hall, but it will be a sanctuary type worship service. So it won't just be one type or the other. It'll be like now, we'll be going back and forth.
And the biggest part of that is the social distancing. We want to make sure that we can keep people 6 feet apart as much as we can. Of course, family units, living in the same household, they can all sit together. But we just want to make sure that we're following the health guidelines and that we can do everything we can to make it as safe as possible.
The other thing that we want to talk about a little bit is, we're all anxious to come back and worship. We're all anxious to see each other. And I know when we've had parking lot worship, it's like, oh, it's so good to see people. And it really is. My concern is that we're not thinking when we come back here, it's going to be like it was in February or January.
Right.
It isn't.
Right. I mean, everyone would love to, congregate in the narthex or congregate and have donuts and just say, oh, it's so great to see you, but that's not going to be able to happen for a while. I mean, I think the talk is when we don't have a specific date. I mean, that we cannot narrow it down to that. But when we do get back into service, people will come in, we can have the service, but then people will be asked to leave right away after the service. So that's one thing. Service is not going to be like we want it to be right away.
Yeah, it won't be anywhere near what we're used to.
Right.
What we haven't completely decided on is singing. How can singing happen, or can singing happen?
Right.
That may not at first. Maybe we hum. Maybe we just listen. There won't be coffee. And as Jeff was saying, we're going to ask that you not congregate in the hallways, but leave and go back to your cars. Again, safety is the top issue here for what we're talking about, and so we just want to know that we can gather together in a safe way and keep everybody as healthy as we can. And so caution, I think, is where PPC is at. Caution is where the staff is at. And as I said, we just want to know that when we gather together, we don't have to wonder and worry, okay, are we going to read about ourselves in the newspaper because of spread of COVID?
Yep. The other thing that the staff, I think Lynn has come up with, is there's going to be a survey that's coming to all of the members, and I'll let Lynn explain a little bit about the survey, kind of what we're looking for, and it's going to be very brief, so please, fill it out, get it back to the office as soon as you can. It'll help make decisions down the road also.
Yeah, we just want to know, where you're at, your comfort level. And so right now it's a 4-question survey. It will be emailed to you either the end of this week or beginning of next week. And just ask that you fill that out, return it, and it'll give us some sense of what you're thinking and where you're at. Again, this is not a vote.
Right.
So if everyone that takes the survey says, I'm ready to come back right now, what are we waiting for? That doesn't mean that that's what we're going to do. We're going to listen to what you have to say, but we also are going to look at numbers, and we're going to look at, do we have all of the policies and things in place that we need to safely open up.
The other thing I would ask is we would be looking for a minimum of 6 to 10 people that would, after every service, stay and sanitize the surface, put things back together, but make sure that it's ready for the next event or celebration that comes into that place. So we will be asking and looking for people to volunteer just to make sure that it doesn't fall on the ushers, it doesn't fall on the staff, it doesn't fall on the musicians and things like that. We would just need people to, sanitize, clean up, make sure that everything is ready for the next time.
We're in this together.
Right.
And if we all do our part, we can do this and we can do it well. Let me just say, Jeff said that we need people to help with sanitizing afterwards. And the first thing that comes to my head is, oh my goodness, buckets and water, and we're gonna be scrubbing for hours. Actually, what we have is a spray. And what we need to do is just spray down the room. You don't have to rub or go up to the chairs or do anything. You spray it in the air and it settles on the room, and after 20 minutes, then it should be ready to go back into again. So what we're asking in terms of the sanitizing and the cleaning is about 4 or 5 people who will together spray down the area in Celebration Hall.
Right.
And probably hallways and that kind of thing too, so that we just know that it's clean. So
doorknobs and entryways and just things like that. So,
yeah.
Those are all things that, parish planning is talking about. We're coming up with a plan, the staff is coming up with, but again, with that survey, we would just like to have a little bit of your input, kind of where your comfort level is. If a lot of you just say, I like the online worship where we're at right now. We don't need to rush this, and that's the feeling that we have right now. And that's great. We will continue to do that, but we would just like to see where the congregation is at right now.
Yep. Yes. Well, thank you, Jeff. Thank you for coming in and having the conversation. Appreciate from you, the congregation, the input that you can have. Know that all of us are antsy to be back. I mean, I'm really antsy to go back to what worship was like in February.
Yeah, and I would echo that everybody wants to get together. Everybody wants to see each other, because that's what worship is. We can come and worship the Lord, but we also have community that everyone wants and needs. But we have to do that safely, and we have to make sure that everyone is safe once they come in here. So that's kind of where we're at right now, and we appreciate, if there's any other questions or concerns, email the office. We will certainly address everything that we can, but we just want to be transparent and let you know that we aren't sitting here thinking, oh, we don't know when we're going to open. We're working on a plan.
And we're keeping track. We're watching, and you will be the first to know when we're going to have in-person worship.
Right. So thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you.